Good afternoon, everyone. And once again, welcome to the Cybersecurity Conference. And my name is Shajina Anand. I'm an assistant professor at Seton University, and I will be moderating this session. So here, I'll give a few instructions for you. Each presenter in this session will be given 15 minutes for their presentation, which includes 5 minutes of question and answers. So for the audience, if you have any questions for the presenters, you may raise your hand on Teams and turn on your microphone and ask them. Or you can also submit a question via the chat feature on the Teams platform, and I'll read your question out loud. So now let's welcome our first presenter, Nicole Gizzi from Seton University, on the topic reflecting on the Geneva Cyber 912 Strategy Challenge. Welcome, Nick.
Hello, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm going to be presenting about my experience with the Cyber 912 Strategy Challenge that was organized and hosted by the Atlantic Council. Just for a little agenda, I'm going to talk a little bit about my team, which was consisted of 4 people. We were known as Team Sherlocks. Unfortunately, the rest of the team couldn't be here today, so I will be speaking on behalf of them as well. I'm going to reflect a little bit and give you a summary about what the Cyber 912 Strategy Challenge is, and then my overall reflection from the experience. So starting off with who I am a pretty busy bee. I'm a senior at Seton Hall University. I'm graduating next spring. I am a triple major, Stillman School of Business, IT Management, Finance, and Marketing, and I'm also pursuing the minor in certification in cybersecurity. I also worked last year as a student IT security analyst under Eric Lopez at Seton Hall, and I am currently an IT incident co-op at UPS. I'm also the chapter president for Beta Alpha Psi, which is the Accounting, IT, and Finance Honor Society. And I'm also the founder and president of the SHU Cybersecurity Club, which I will also talk about a little bit at the very end. And for the Cyber 912 Strategy Challenge, I was the technical and cybersecurity expert. The rest of my team consisted of Chimdi, Ali, and Naharika. Chimdi graduated with his master's in diplomacy and international relations last summer, and he's currently a GSOC analyst for Palo Alto. Allie's currently a master's student in the International Relations and Affairs program, and she's currently an immigration specialist at the Catholic Charities. And Naharika is currently a JD candidate for privacy and security law and a Google Policy Fellow for tech freedom. So basically, the Cyber 912 Strategy Challenge is an annual cyber policy and strategy competition where students from all around the world get to compete in making policy options and recommendations that tackle a fake and fictional type of scenario. So, for example, we had a fictional cyber attack in Nistria, which is a country in Africa, and we basically had to come up with different policy options on how to remediate the issue, what to do, everything like that. And it went from the technical aspect of it to even the diplomatic aspect. And what made our team unique is that we were made up with different backgrounds. So Chimdi and Ali, they were all focusing on the diplomatic and humanitarian aspect of things, while Naharika and I were thinking about more of the policy and technical aspect of things. Taking part in this challenge, it helps bring a deeper understanding on why cybersecurity is very important, seeing how it can affect the world in different aspects, such as how things happened in our fictional scenario. Basically, what happened was there were phone lines that were disrupted. No one could withdraw money from their bank accounts. It really showed like a real world threat as to what a push of a button could do into a cyber aspect. And through the setup that the Cyber 912 Strategy Challenge brings, it continues to build on its reputation as a pipeline for the next generation of cyber policymakers, and it continues to grow as a global community of multidisciplinary cybersecurity professionals. So here's an example of what our initial policy brief was, and we basically needed to summarize what the situation was and how we planned on remediating it and solving the issue. So we summarized the elements of the crisis, which I have shown here. We basically realized that there was some type of glitch in the system. And from the technical aspect, I had recommended that we first copy everything over to a different hardware and make sure that we have that so that we don't lose all our information in case something does happen with the issue. Then we would halt what we were doing and try to scrub it clean. Then Chimdi and Naharika and Ali, on the other hand, they were tackling the national and regional aspects of it on how to help from a humanitarian aspect. And that's also what I think made the judges really like our group because most teams are focusing more on the technical side of things, but our team was able to give a more humanitarian and more personal example and solution to it. And these were our final decision documents. The first decision document was completed within 4 weeks, and the second decision document was completed within a span of 18 hours. It was a pretty thrilling experience having to go from having 4 weeks to complete this one decision document with our three different policy options to having to do a completely different one with a set of updates and only have 18 hours to submit it before having to wake up 3 hours later at 3 in the morning to present our project. Because this was all based out in Switzerland, and we were the only US civilized university to advance to semifinals. So you could see that there is a little bit of a difference between the two decision documents, but overall, um, we did focus more on the technical aspects of the second decision document over the first. We were pushing more of a humanitarian approach, but overall, it is a cybersecurity issue in a sense. So we definitely focused more on the technical aspects of things. So we wanted to remediate and recover everything that we could so that not everything was lost in the attack. And these were our decision documents. Really proud of these. Overall reflection of my experience with this challenge, first of all, it was the opportunity that came about. Chimdi had emailed all of us asking if anyone wanted to take part in this, and honestly, I thought it was a scam, a phishing email. I didn't know if it was real or not, but when my former boss Eric received the email too, I was like, this must be real. And he was our coach. So don't think I would have gotten any of the other experiences that I have had if it wasn't for this challenge. And getting to present to CIOs, for example, never thought I would have gotten to do that in my life. It was pretty incredible, and it was an amazing experience to hear the feedback from the judges, especially how most of them were saying that I sounded like a technical expert when I was presenting, and it felt really good to hear that from them. And it was an amazing opportunity, and I want to continue doing these competitions just because of how fun they were and getting to collaborate with other people from different disciplinaries and majors. It was a really good opportunity. Friendship, I did not know Chimdi Naharika or Ali before going through with this competition. And from then on out, we still text each other updates on how we're doing with our careers. And they're just very supportive people. And I'm just really grateful to have their friendships now. And if it wasn't for this competition, I would not know them. Knowledge and experience I can kind of tie into two different aspects, but they kind of combine. I did gain a lot more technical knowledge from this. I did have very limited experience in the IT department, given that I'm not as technical as the rest of my coworkers were, but I did do more focus on the phishing aspect of things. So it was great to learn more about all that stuff and just the overall experience of competing with people from all around the world. Did not expect that and did not even expect to move on to semifinals as a first-time competitor, which they did say is not common for first-time competitors. So just that thrilling experience of stopping everything you're doing just to get this last brief done and not getting much sleep because you have to present literally 3 hours the next morning. It was pretty insane, and that's how I even got the idea of, like, we should start up a cybersecurity club so that we could continue doing these competitions and having meetings just to prepare for them, because a lot goes into them. And finally, the challenge. I'd never done something like this before, and I didn't know how it was gonna go, but I love to challenge myself, and I'm always up to taking on new things. And I'm really glad that I stuck with it because it just opened the door of opportunities for me, friendship-wise, career-wise, and even cyber-wise. If it wasn't for this challenge, I don't think I would have been so stickler on staying with the cybersecurity field as well. And I did talk about the cybersecurity club a little bit, but it was 5 in the morning, and I was basically telling Eric, like, we need a cybersecurity club. So, I'm currently in the process of getting it approved with student government. Next Friday, we will be presenting to them to see if they will approve the club. Basically, what I want for this club is to teach current students, undergrad and grad, about all the opportunities that they can have in a career in cybersecurity, even if it's not offered as a major. And um, I want to also help other students get involved with these types of challenges, and we can have meetings to just prepare for them because there's some schools around the world that actually have clubs dedicated to those competitions. So that's something I wanna do, and I also wanna bring in a bunch of alumni who would have wanted something like this when they were in school to be able to come talk to our students and not only network, but share their experiences on how they got into cybersecurity. So I just see a lot of potential with this club, and I hope to get it started soon. So if you want to get involved, please let me know. And thank you for your time. If you have any questions, please let me know.
Thank you for the presentation, Nick. So if you have any questions, please raise your hand or add your questions to the chat. So we have one question. So is the cybersecurity club part of SHU or is this your own initiative after graduation?
This is a Seton Hall club that I am planning since it is through the Student Government Association. Since I am graduating next spring, I'm hoping to get this thing off and running because it would be amazing to see what it could grow into. But even after I graduate, I do plan to stay involved with it just because it is technically a project that I started on my own and have reached out to people asking if they would have wanted to be a part of this, like now or even alumni. So I'm looking to start it now, get approval from SGA so that we could start our meetings as soon as possible and just get the floor up and running.
Okay, now we have one more comment for you, Nick. Do you want to answer for that?
I don't see the question.
Wow, I wish this was here before I graduated. I definitely would have pivoted to tech. He wanted to convey that. Thank you,
Um,
Wilhelm. Yeah.
I could talk a little bit about that. So I initially was a computer science major, but first week of college I decided that comp sci was not for me. So I pivoted a little bit to the Stillman School of Business where I found IT management because I always liked the business side of IT. Um, and my freshman year summer, I found the cyber boot camp and I took part in that. Literally changed my whole aspect of security, and I just became absorbed into the world of cybersecurity. It was something that I wanted to do from that moment on, and I did everything in my power to get as much knowledge and information while I'm a student to be able to make my resume the way it is. And my goal in the end is to ultimately work in the field of cybersecurity over business. So I'm hoping to do that one day. And yeah,
Okay. Thank you, Nicole. So
thank
now,
you.
yeah. Now let's welcome our next presenter, Jennifer Leach from Rowan University. She'll be giving a presentation on how to optimize data evaluation metrics for fraud detection using machine learning technique.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jennifer Leach, like she just said. I'm a senior undergraduate major at Rowan University. This fall, I will be graduating with my bachelor's in science and mathematics with a minor in statistical and operational research and a second minor in data science, and also a certificate of undergraduate study in philosophy just for fun, but that doesn't really pertain to this presentation too much. This research is research I've done with my faculty mentor, Dr. Uma. It has since been published. It's in the World Academy of Science, Engineering, and Technology's International Journal for Computational and Mathematical Sciences. very long name, but very honored to have a published paper as an undergrad. This research looked at analyzing fraud detection using machine learning techniques. So first off, why fraud detection? So we all know that technology has become such a prominent part of how we as a society live. We saw this a lot with the COVID-19 outbreak, where technology helped us transfer into a remote way of learning and working with relative ease. But unfortunately, with the advancement in technology, also becomes the advancement of fraud. People find new and more clever ways to manipulate others for their own personal gain and stuff like that. We see this on the internet with like scams trying to steal money, to even more severe cases such as like identity theft. So it's really important that we catch these fraudulent activities as or before they're happening, in order to help with the problems these everyday citizens are facing. So for this analysis, I used two different data sets. The first data set was the cyber attack data set. It looked at cyber attacks happening in Turkey between 2015 and 2019. It had 101 cases of cyber attacks and 11 different attributes or features. All of these attributes were categorical. And then the response variable I used was the perpetrator variable. And this basically told us if we knew who the person who committed the cyber attack was or not. The other data set I used is the credit data set. This is in R, it's a library and cost data sets. This looked at 1,000 credit records across 21 unique features. And the response variable I used was the class one, where 0 was a genuine transaction and 1 was a fraudulent transaction. Now, this data set had both numerical and categorical attributes. So what I did is I split this data set up into 3 different groups. One where I used all of the attributes, both numerical and categorical, one with just the numerical ones, so that ended up being about 8, and just the categorical ones, which ended up being about 14. So in the end, I had 4 data sets that I was analyzing against. And then when it comes to what machine learning techniques I use these 5: logistic regression, random forest, bagging, support vector machine, and k-nearest neighbors. And then on top of that, when you do a machine learning technique, you need to have a training and testing split to be able to see how accurate the model was. So I also split those up into 5 different training and testing splits. So each data set had 25 different analyses done to it, for a total of 100 analyses done for this research. The objectives for this was to find which machine learning technique was the most efficient at detecting the fraudulent activity, and then also to see which training and testing split gave the optimal model, just to see if that affects anything. So results part 1. So this is the cyber attack data. The table on the left shows all the results, all 100. For these, we found accuracy, precision, recall, and F1. We do this because mainly people focus on accuracy, but if there's ever a sort of like imbalance in the data, precision, recall, and F1 can really show those instead of just focusing on accuracy. But on the right, you do see a table of the accuracies for each of them. And for this result, you saw that k-nearest neighbors produced the highest for all situations. It was significantly better, and the highest training and testing split for accuracy was 85-15%. Now, this data set came from a journal. It's by Byland and Amit. You can see it in the lower right corner. And they also analyzed it with machine learning techniques. So I compared the ones we had in common. And on the table on the right, you can see the solid bars are my results and the striped ones are the journals. And for logistic regression and random forest, we weren't too far off. But k-nearest neighbors, there was like a significant jump of like mine was about 20% more accurate than theirs were. And I don't exactly know the full reason behind this, but speculations I have is that this journal used Python for their analysis and I just used R. So different programs may produce different results. Also, I'm not sure what K value the journal used, because with k-nearest neighbors, you have to pick a K value. And when I was picking it, I sequentially picked numbers until I found the one that produced the highest accuracy. So that could be a reason why mine's higher, because I picked the one that was meant to produce the highest accuracy. And this journal only looked at 80-20 testing split, so I'm only looking at my results for that testing level. But still, that could be the reason why mine was significantly higher than theirs. Okay, results part 2. This is the credit data set with all the features, both numerical and categorical, and this didn't give as nice results as we wanted, as the last one did. But for this one, it was kind of a little bit all over the place. For recall and precision, random forest was about the highest. For the in general, support vector machines, logistic regression, and random forest were the highest. I believe for this, I picked support vector machines for being the best, but logistic regression and random forest are very close seconds. And again, the highest training and testing split was 85-15. Results part 3. This is the credit data set with just the categorical variables. And this produced very similar results to the cyber attack data set. K-nearest neighbors was by far the best. There's a little bit of differentiation in the recall. For accuracy, precision, and F1, this produced the highest results. And again, the highest training testing split was 85-15. And then finally, the credit data set with just the numerical variables, again, doesn't give super nice results. That's statistics for you. But bagging and random forest in general tended to produce like the highest results for this with a 90-10 training testing split. So in conclusion, K-nearest neighbors perform the best with categorical data. I believe this to be so because K-nearest neighbors uses Euclidean distance. So that can be really hard to find when you have continuous variables and trying to group data sets. So since categoricals are very discrete, that make it a lot easier to group things and probably is why it performed the best. And then for numerical data, bagging and random forest was the best. And then for both numerical and categorical, support vector machines were the best, again, with logistic regression and random forest being close seconds. And then for our training and testing split observation, overall, 85-15 was the highest, which is very interesting because I think most research uses either 80-20 or 70-30. So it's really interesting that that produced the best results. Again, except for numerical data, that produced the best was 90-10. So for future research of this, I hope to analyze methods in different programming software such as Python like the research did, and then also to use the different deep learning techniques to also see if that would help detect fraud in any way, such as artificial neural networks or even other supervised learning techniques such as boosting to see if that has any effect as well. And that's it. Thank you. Let me know if you have any questions.
Shajina, your mic is muted.
Oh, I'm sorry. Any questions from the audience? No? Okay. Jennifer, I have a question for you. You said like you have tried multiple machine learning techniques, right? Like
Yes.
random forest, SVM, K nearest neighbors. So everything you have implemented or it's just an analysis?
I ran all of these in R programming and found the results for my data set. Yeah.
Okay. Did you use any inbuilt tools for that? Like inbuilt or programming tools or any other external tools have you used to implement that?
I think I used all packages in R, like any ones that in it. So I know support vector machines was the CVM function, K nearest neighbors was KNN, stuff like that. But I forget what all of the specific ones were. Yeah.
So it was a great research. I like it. And can you help me to understand few parameters you have considered to declare that particular packets or networks or whatever data you are taking is malicious? How did you find that? What are all the parameters you have considered?
For the most part, I use the ones that I learned in my elemental stat learning class. That's how I typically pick them. I know for logistic regression, you have to pick a specific type. I believe, I forget which one I did because it was a very long time ago, but I did pick the one that produced the most results. I believe when I tried every other one, it gave no results and it didn't work. So I picked the one that actually gave some results for the most part. But yeah, and for all of these that I set a seed for, I always use the number 120 so it could be replicated again.
So that was great, Jennifer. And I saw your future work is going to be deep learning. Okay, you should try convolutional neural networks. It gives better result. Okay, all the best.
Thank you.
So the next, 1 second, please. Our final presenter is Eden Olry from Seton Hall University. He'll be talking about the commonalities in social engineering attacks through e-commerce shopping platform and online gaming programs. Eden, over to you.
Hello, everyone. I'm just going to share my screen 1 second. All right. So like I said, hello, everyone. My presentation is about social engineering. It's a research on sorry about my English, by the way. I'm an international student. So commonalities in social engineering attacks on e-commerce shopping platforms and online gaming platforms. And my instructor is Professor Shajina Anand. So a bit about the agenda for today. The first part will be the introduction and objective. That will take 2 minutes. After that, I will show the proposed approach. It will take around 4 minutes. I'll actually show some live demonstration. It will take 3 minutes. And at the end, it will be result and future work. It will take 1 minute. So like I said, I am Eden Olry. I'm an international student from Tel Aviv, Israel, far away from here. I'm a senior. I'm a computer science major at Seton Hall. And again, if there is some language problems, I'm sorry from before for the accent. So, what is social engineering? Social engineering manipulates people into performing actions or divulging confidential information. Similar to a confidence trick or simple fraud, the term applies to the use of deception to gain information, commit fraud, or access computer systems. Like you can see the examples at the bottom. It can be from a phone call, it can be an in-person, over email. There's many different ways to do the social engineering. Our objective, so basically social engineering is becoming very prevalent nowadays, and the important factor to consider is the human psychological factor and social interaction that is getting influenced that makes people vulnerable. We are looking at 2 user groups, online gamers and shoppers, and their vulnerability to social engineering attacks. In understanding the vulnerabilities, our future work focuses on coming up with a risk score that can help to take preventive action and thereby mitigating attacks. So our proposed approach is that, first of all, we identify the target, which is, in this case, the vulnerable machine. And the victim is one of the team members that identified the victim for the research purpose. So we divided to 5 steps. The first step is the pre-engagement. It's going with identify the target, physically tailing a target, planning the attack. The second one is establish relationship, which includes approach and gaining trust with the target, indirect tailgate target. The number 3 step is to actually obtain information, which is to use the search engine, social network, trace route, who is lookup, and the IP address. And number 4 will be the engaging a target, the spinning a story, build a level of trust, and take control of victim. And the last part is the exploit, which you basically attack the victim and obtain the information. So for those steps, we use different tools in different stages, like I said, for the research. So like between here, you can see that in the pre-engagement, for the direct, we use the weak website, trust people. For the indirect attacks, we use prone to open the port networks. And for the established relationship part, we have a lot of tools that we use. You can see here Google Docs, NSLOOKUP, Nmap, Nessus, etc. And for the last part, for the exploit part, we use the Metasploit, Beef, SAT, and other tools. Okay, so the parameters identified is based on the framework and research following are the human psychological parameters identified. So for demographics, there is the age, the psychologically weak candidates, the stressed out people, like sales team, IT developers, and then also gaining trust will be design of the phishing emails themselves, closer to organization design, not easily identifiable false email ID, small spend changes, pre-engagement, everything that will basically will make it look more real. Vulnerable websites, other parameters, and based on these parameters, our ongoing work is to arrive at the risk score eventually. So right now I'm going to show the demonstration. It's important to say you should please don't try it by yourself. We're doing it in class, in the lab, whatever we're trying to do here. And in this demonstration, there is 2 victim machine and 1 attacker machine is considered for the research purpose, 1 network vulnerable machine, and 1 complete buggy web vulnerable machine. Right now I'm going to show the demonstration. We're using this. Sorry. Second. So sometimes it takes a second to load. So here, like you can see, we can use different options. In our case, we're going to use the first one, the social engineering attacks. Then we are going to use the second option for the website attack vectors. Right now, we're going to use the third option, which is credential harvester attack method. And then here, and the last one, we're going to use the site cloner. So as of now, we need to use an IP. So this is this machine IP. I'm going to use it, this one this time, but there can be others. So I'm putting the exact same IP. And now I need to enter the URL to clone. So it can be basically everything, but we can use something very famous, something very popular that's going. So I'm going to use Facebook for this time. Sorry. Okay. And now I'm going to go to my browser. And I'm going to enter the IP itself. Let me just see what it is again so I remember. Here is my IP. I'm going to put it here. And like you can see, the Facebook page has been loaded. So I'm going to save this one, and I can use some different names for it, but I need something that will be make sense for the that open it, that will believe it's real. So I can do bank statement 2022, for example. And I'm saving it. And what we are doing, usually when we're doing an attack, we send it in emails to someone. So for this example, this is Gmail. It's in Hebrew, so this is like the other way. So I'm going to send it to myself. I'm going to say bank statement 22. And I am going to attach what I just saved. Sending it to myself, of course. And here I got the email, like you can see. I am going to the email, opening it, and usually it opens as a regular Facebook, but this time it doesn't, but it will still work. I can put A, B, C, D, E, F, and A, B, C, D, E, F. And I press login. And right now, the victim has no idea what was going on. He's here. We just entered regularly to the Facebook, but on my side, when I'm coming here, you can see that this is the email that I have wrote in, and this is the password, and this is an example of how we're getting information from another person. Perfect phishing example. So our results from this is that, like you can see here, social engineering attacks were tried against weak websites and machines based on OWASP top 10 vulnerabilities. And there is different examples here. Like you can see, for example, the fingerprint web server. That's eventually what it does. It's reading in the middle. This is the purpose. So it's find the version and type of a running web server to determine known vulnerabilities and the appropriate exploits. And this is the tools we can use it. For this one, it's burpsot and nmap. We can go for, just for example, the test HTTP method, which we identify an HTTP allowed methods on web servers with options, arbitrary HTTP methods, had access control by pass and XST. And the tools to use it is netcat, curl, nmap, HTTP method script. And this test is conducted on 2 vulnerable machines, the Metasploitable and OWASP. So for the last part, the conclusion and next steps, there is no perfect software solution still to social engineering because it's a social interaction attack. However, there are still ways to mitigate this attack. The best way is to give online user information about security risks online. This will help users understand the risks of social engineers, which will in turn decrease the likely chance of a successful attack. And our next steps would be to explore options to introduce the scoring approach to identify people at risk of attack. And that would be it for my side. Thank you guys. If you have any questions, you're welcome. And that's it.
If you have any questions, please raise your hand, or you can directly ask the presenter. Any questions? Yes, I think Hunt has a question. You can ask the question, Hunt. You can unmute and ask your question.
I've been putting my question in the chat last couple of minutes, but it applies to everyone up there. When you guys are doing your work, how do you retain your intellectual property if you try to work on a project based off of your own knowledge when you're housed under different institutions?
I think this question is for all the presenters.
Yeah. I'm just trying to understand exactly the question. So you're asking how we're doing it. So basically, all we learned in class. In here, I had nothing before. So it's all tools that we use. Social engineering is just an example of one of the other things we're doing. I think it's for me, this is very popular right now. A lot of people are getting these attacks. I'm sure all of us getting those kind of stuff. And usually you can say that sometimes you're tired, you don't really notice, and out of nowhere you can see that some money gets taken from you and stuff like that. So I think it's very important to do it. And this is how we did it in class. If I answer, sorry.
We have one more hand raised. Please unmute and ask your question.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hey, everybody. Nice meeting you. My name is Isaac Oquendo. Question for Eden. By the way, nice presentation.
Thank you.
At the beginning of the presentation, there was one slide that said that even IT developers are very vulnerable to this. What do you think is that? Like, I think it said something about them being stressed out with things. It's like interesting, you even in the industry, in the IT, you can be a victim of it, right?
So yeah, you can be a victim of it. And specifically to IT, I don't really know. I didn't go that deep into it. Maybe Professor Shajina can help me with this because you have better knowledge than me. But I'm sure that it is. It's just stuff that we learned in class. Yeah.
Yes, actually, for social engineering, we have tried direct and indirect attacks. For indirect attacks, we try to find the stressed out people from IT industries and sales department and university students and those who are mentally weak people, psychologically affected people. We try to identify. That is what the presentation says. Yeah, that is for indirect attack. Initially, we'll try to, gain good friendship with them, and we'll gain trust, and then we try to steal their information. This is only for legal and ethically, for only academic research purpose. We tried that. We have been trying that still. Yeah, that is one of the parameters we have considered. Yes, Miguel. Okay, Miguel, right? Yeah, please you can.
Yes, yes. Hi, this is Miguel. Actually, this is a comment for the three presenters. I am already in the field. I am a cybersecurity engineer for Checkpoint Software Technologies, and I'm very impressed from Nicole. I would like to start with Nicole because you pretty much presented what it is a ransomware attack. This is what it happens if you think about a hospital. What happens when all the systems are locked down by a ransomware? And now you presented the human aspect, how we're going to take care of these patients when we have to do everything at hand. So that was something very good that you did, and what you're trying to do to put the cybersecurity club for the rest of the students that are following you. That would be a good thing that you are doing over there. Jennifer, you pretty much presented something that normally we would use in a threat prevention environment, like creating new opportunities or new ways to detect 0 days and new threats that are happening. And this is what our research and development team they do every day. They are creating new models. They are using machine learning and deep learning to understand what the hackers are doing, because the same tools that we are using to stop cyber attacks, they are using the same tools to attack people and companies. And Eden, you presented like what we do every day, presenting how is it that we need to protect and to people to create awareness, because when people see things that are happening, then they start taking a different posture, and this is where we do on the daily basis. So I'm very blown away for all these presentations, what you are going to do in the future and the value that you are going to provide to the industry. So that's really, really awesome. And I look forward working with you in the future. That's all I have.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the audience? Okay. So thank you very much, Eden, Nick, and Jennifer for addressing these exciting topics. And thank you to the participants for joining this session.